You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Arrow After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Arrow After Show.
Hey! Hello and good evening, guys. I'm Kaori Takee, and Bing is for doing here at AfterBuzz TV. And we are here doing our first after show for CW's Arrow for episode 7, Muse of Fire. But don't worry, we will recap. And I am here with...
I'm Kelly, and I'm so excited to be doing this show. I've watched it from the beginning, and I'm really glad that we're doing an after show.
Yes, I think this is a show worthy of a great after show.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a hot man in a hood and shooting arrows. What's better than that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love, like, the opening credits when he's doing, like, his workout, and he's, like, you know, jumping up that, like, bar up.
And he's got a great voice.
He does. Okay, it's not going to be all girly.
It's not going to be all girly, but we just had to shout out on his body. All right. So since we have started on episode 7, we wanted to, catch up a little bit on what's been going on.
Right.
So you guys know that we're up to date and catch you guys up in case you're just tuning in right now and catching up with us.
So the series starts out that we find out that, Oliver was stranded on this island, and he gets rescued and ends up coming back home, and everybody thought he was dead. He's been gone for 5 years. And as the series progresses, we get flashbacks of what he went through on that island that kind of turned him into this, crazy vigilante type person. Because he was a partier. He was a guy that didn't care about anything. Rich kid, spent a lot of money, partied, club kid, all of that. And even to the point where he was cheating on his girlfriend when he got shipwrecked with her sister.
Right.
And, it's just this, he's just that guy. So for him to get stranded on this island, go through what he went through, and then come back as a completely different person is really interesting to see.
Right, and we're going to see him develop into a character and see if his previous character that we don't know really exists is going to come back.
Right.
And we're going to see snippets of that as we move forward in the episode.
I'm watching him balance out the two, and as we said, we're in episode 7. So as it goes back, we find out more about what happened to him on the island and how his dad willed him to live, and took his own life, which is something that's hard for him to have to live with. And nobody knows the different things that he went through, having to learn how, a kid that had everything handed to him, having to learn how to fend for himself, on this island. And, he gets, trapped in these, booby traps, and, he finds someone that actually, helps him and teaches him and makes him learn how to take care of himself, which is something he had never done before.
Yeah, and I think that's really important in his character and his change. So he comes back, and he's still a billionaire's son, but he is completely different, no longer a party animal. And not only is he different, but the things around him are different. The people around him have maybe similar but different expectations of him. So that definitely causes different conflicts and situations in his present life. So he comes back, and his family, we find out that his mother is actually the one that
she's one of the conspirators that's involved in this organization. Because I guess the way that, and the way it jumps back and forth, you really have to pay attention with this show to kind of keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
Which, makes it that much more intense to watch. So his dad, was a billionaire in the city, one of the main socialites, and did a lot of people wrong. He, kind of went the wrong way. He, was tied into pretty bad things, and he felt guilty about it. So now he wants Oliver to go and make it right. And that's kind of what his whole goal is. He has this one set of goals. He has this list of people that he's going to take out because they wronged the city, and he wants to make the city a better place.
And don't you think that's kind of a really big task to ask of your son before you die? Like, I messed up royally, so I want you to make all my wrongs right.
It's your responsibility now.
It's your responsibility, even if it means life is put at risk.
That's what children are for, apparently.
Yeah, apparently
fix all the wrongs of your parents.
Well, it's true. We do want to be better than our parents, I guess.
Yeah. It's, that's what they always say. One of those things, you always blame your parents, for the messed up things in your head. And this poor guy, he has to balance out these two personalities because he's completely different. Now he's focused on just kind of taking out all these people, fixing the city. Only through the people that are on this list is his first main objective. And as, he starts to grow and get involved in more things, that starts to widen and open up.
Exactly.
Especially, and one of the things I like too is that, his mom, when he gets back, assigns him a security guard. And, he's ditching this guy, he's running off doing, his whole, archer vigilante thing. But I like that he trusted this guy enough, Diggle, right?
Diggle.
He trusted him enough to reveal himself so early on in the series. I was pretty surprised about that, and I thought that was interesting that he had a partner, so soon to be able to talk about what was going on and somebody to kind of bounce this anger and frustration off of.
See, I completely agree with you. Like, I think it was really important to put Diggle into the story because, yeah, he's supposed to be someone that to have camaraderie with. However, like, despite that, as we see through episode 1 through 6, his sister, who I guess now is a complete druggie, borderline bipolar, because one moment she's super sweet and sensitive, and the next moment she's a complete biatch.
I know.
It's weird that he still has a hard time really opening up to Diggle, even though he knows his secrets. And I guess we figure out who he opens up to in this episode. But
well, yeah, and one of just like a quick little fun fact, and I bet all of you Arrow super fans already know this, but the character of John Diggle is named in honor of Andy Diggle, the writer of the Green Arrow Year 1 series, which the show is based on. Yeah, so that's pretty fun.
I read that one too, and that was pretty cool.
That is well, because there's so many versions of this story. So it's when you go back to the comics and all of that, there's these different characters and the different villains, and I think they're trying to incorporate it into this new, fresh way. And I believe there was someone, and in the comic book series, it was named Speedy, that was kind of a drug addict.
Well, Speedy is actually Green Arrow's kind of like Batman's Robin,
right?
And so there are 2 Speedies, and one of the Speedies is a girl. So that was interesting that his kid sister's nickname is Speedy.
So I wonder how that's going to play out, later on. But
yeah, I like her, and I think she looks like Maria Munoz, our beloved Maria Munoz. I keep saying that.
She does. She really does. She's she's cute, but she's she's worried about her brother, and she has her own issues. Yes. And he went away when she was pretty young, and then she had to deal with whatever's going on with her family, her father dying, or thinking she lost both her brother and her father, her mother remarrying, and all the pressures that comes with her lifestyle. So she's acting out and doing things she shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I mean, she is she keeps repeating that she is basically following her older brother's footsteps. So and she is also, in my opinion, one of the characters in the show that is constantly using the word judgment. I'm being judged. I'm judging my brother, yada, yada, yada. So I think eventually she's going to develop into something really strong.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm curious to see where that kind of goes and if she starts to take responsibility for herself and kind of grow up a little bit. Because right now she's kind of being a bratty kid.
Right, yeah.
I mean, and rightfully so. She's young and,
And yeah, of course, when we were 17, we wanted to party here and there. I don't know about the drug fact, but that's just me being judgmental. So yeah, so we talked about briefly about his mom and his new life with his sister, and you know he has a stepfather now, but now he also has come back to his ex-girlfriend Laurel,
Right.
and that's interesting.
And watching that progression when she finds out that he's back and all the emotions that she's going through because she was really in love with him. And, he ditched her for her sister, and then this tragedy happens, and she can't really be mad because she has to grieve for her sister because her sister gets killed in this accident. And it's such a horrible situation to be in. I can't, getting cheated on by your boyfriend is bad enough, especially when you think you're super in love with him, but to have that extra, tragedy added on top of it, I mean, it's horrible.
Oh yeah, and the layer and
yeah,
her sister, and then she's left being the only child with a very overprotective father who happens to be detective, and she's a lawyer at this point. 5 years have passed, and so we see some kind of indications of romance between them throughout the previous 6 episodes, but she actually has, I guess, at this point, emotional attachment to Tommy.
Yeah, to Tommy, which is Oliver's best friend. And they, I guess, throughout the tragedy and dealing with it, they were friends when Oliver and, Laurel dated, but then after the disappearance, they became friends with benefits.
Right.
And, he was that playboy that Oliver was, and, just kind of one of those guys. So she never really took him serious, and now he has strong feelings for her and really wants to date her. And, it's funny, like, when we were watching it, and you said, why do they have to keep reestablishing that? It's like,
exactly.
Yes, we know you guys want to date. He gets it.
Yeah.
But, in tonight's episode, Tommy goes, to Oliver and says, hey, we're going out on a date. Just want to make sure you know, and, so you don't find out from someone else. But it was kind of obvious in the last episode, when they were when he threw that charity ball.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious.
For her. I mean, their whole thing is really obvious. But, I mean, I guess in a way, sorry, dude, I messed with your girlfriend while I thought you were gone. But now I'm going to ask, I'm going to let you know out of courtesy.
And just an interesting thing to point out was that Speedy, I like to call her, but her name's Thea.
Yeah.
She actually has a minor crush on Tommy.
Yes, she does.
And Tommy was like, you're like my sister.
Yeah.
There's no way.
That's horrible. How embarrassing.
Weird.
Poor kid.
Yeah. But, she actually pulled off pretty strong. She threw up in the gutter, and she apologized, and it was all good.
Like, sorry, I did this.
I'm your kid sister, forgive me, And so from Laurel, we have her, overbearing dad, the detective. And the detective, in these previous episodes, he's actually the one who is really trying to find out who the vigilante is. And at the same time, he has a personal vendetta
Yes.
on Oliver.
Well, and the whole Queen family
And the
because
whole
of
Queen
what
family.
happened to his daughter. So at every turn, he wants to blame Oliver, blame Oliver, blame Oliver.
Yes.
And then when they really do have, it's circumstantial, but they have some pretty good evidence kind of connecting him to being the vigilante. And he gets with Diggle and pulls off this stunt where he's on house arrest, and Diggle puts the suit on and goes and, gets caught as being the vigilante. So he obviously can't be in 2 places at the same time, and then it kind of gets the detective off his back. But that's also the same night that he's almost killed.
Yes.
That we find out that the well-dressed man has put a hit on him because it's jeopardizing their business, because he connects the dots that the vigilante is going after,
Smart man.
these people on this list.
Yeah.
Because they know about this list.
Yeah, they know about the list, and they're putting 2 and 2 together, the fact that right when Oliver comes, coincidentally, the vigilante appears at the same time.
So he's not dumb, this well-dressed man.
Nope, he's not. And so there's all these things happening, and Oliver has to protect his city and kind of get rid of all the bad and make everything right. So he pulls all these hits off of the list that his father gave him. But one of the ones that we see that I think is going to be important is the triad.
Yes.
So that's not exactly a hit per se, but I think they're both after something that I'm not quite sure what the storyline is going on there. Do you?
Well, it's as we're coming to find out, apparently, like a lot of these people on this list are connected to different crime organizations, and that's what he's trying to stop.
And the Chinese are not on the list, but
they're not on the list, but they're kind of getting in his way, or kind of getting involved, or it's just an added kind of mishap in what he's trying to do. And it's one of the interesting things about his relationship with Diggle, because it's reminding him that he can't be so close-minded about this. Yes, he has a goal. But he can't just be strict to this one list. Like, things are happening in the city, and it's all kind of interconnected, which I think is kind of what's going on with the Triad's involvement.
I think so
but
too.
I'm gonna have to go back and double check that, because again, this series, there's so many different facets that there's too many things going on.
I know. I mean, we can pretty much talk forever about what just happened the past 6 episodes. It's really hard to cover all that in 15 minutes. So, I mean, let's try to talk about what happened in this episode.
Yes, well, this episode was great and was full of intense things. And there's a lot going on, a lot to get our mind, spinning right before the holidays.
Yeah, and so, well, speaking of the holidays, I just want to put in a shameless plug, but not so shameless. Holiday seasons are coming up.
Yes.
I love Amazon, and I think it's the perfect time to go to Amazon and get a gift for anyone and get anything you want. Just go to AfterBuzzTV.com and click on the Amazon banner, and it will help us stay on the show and give you an AfterBuzz show that we love to be doing. What are you going to get your...
Oh, I have so many gifts to buy, and I think somebody needs to buy me like the old school Arrow comics, so I can catch myself up on the different versions of this comic. I really want to go back and read all of them, because I think it's so interesting the way that they're redoing these characters and kind of infiltrating them and merging them into, because there's so many. I mean, there's only so many different storylines one show can have. And
I think that if any viewers would like to send you a gift?
Yes, or definitely go to iTunes and rate and comment our show. It's new, and we're trying to get all caught up. We're starting out at episode 7, so you got to give us a little bit of a break. But definitely leave us comments. Let us know kind of your take on things. If there's anything we missed, things about the comic book and how they relate. We'd love to definitely get into a discussion about that.
Yes, absolutely. We will also respond to your comments. We always read your reviews, and we're grateful for them, good or bad. Hopefully good. And if you tell a friend, that would be awesome too. You just tell a friend a day, and it keeps us in play.
Yes. All right. So Tommy and Laurel. Tommy and Laurel are trying to have a relationship. They're, she was hesitant at first. She's kind of giving in. He's being super sweet off of the advice of Speedy.
Yeah.
Which, was kind of ironic for that poor kid.
Well, I think she thought, oh, he's talking about me.
Yes.
Some girl. All right.
So now he's kind of, gone against his usual lines and pickup techniques, and is really trying to get to know her and find out what she's about and just kind of be a sweeter version of himself. And he shows up at her place with food and wants to take her to dinner and just kind of start over, since they kind of started their relationship backwards.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I necessarily like them together.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. There is something off about it. And I also notice, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I have never seen them kiss in all of the 7 episodes.
I think they might have done it like once, but I'm gonna have to double check that. That's a good question though, because maybe they haven't. Maybe it's just hugs, or they get close or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Have they kissed yet, guys? Remind us.
Yes.
I don't know.
Comment and let us know.
But I feel like it's forced. I feel like she's just trying, trying to give in because she wants to take her mind off of being in love with Oliver. Like, that's kind of what I think about it.
I think so too.
Because I mean, we've definitely seen her and Oliver kiss. They've kind of had a very emotional reunion, and it's gone back and forth. And, she still has they still have pretty strong feelings for each other, but, she can't, be with him. So I think she's kind of falling to Tommy and to kind of, keep her occupied and kind of away from that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that well, in this episode, Laurel and Oliver had no interaction.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, not at all.
And it was purely like anytime that you saw her, it was purely with Tommy and the development of their relationship.
And the revelation that he has no money. This billionaire playboy is broke.
Yes.
You know, his dad cut him off. And, you know, we see that before we find out that his dad cut him off, we see that his credit card gets declined. And, you know, it's embarrassing.
It is
embarrassing. He's all awkward, and, you know, he runs home to find out what happened.
But you know what's even more embarrassing is that he goes to her apartment at the end of the episode, and he tells her that he's broke, and he got his car repossessed.
And he's evicted.
And now he's evicted. And it's like, you're telling her all this and basically admitting that you are a daddy's boy and you make no money for yourself. That wouldn't work for me.
Yep, nope. And she, you know, she ever the optimist. She's telling him, you're going to be great. Everything's going to be fine. And personally, I'm waiting for her to say, you can come live with me.
I thought she was going to say that because I mean, I would expect nothing less from CW.
Yeah, but no, she says, I have a pizza in the refrigerator that needs to be eaten. I'll feed you, but you can't stay here.
That's funny. Smart girl, though.
But I wonder if that's going to kind of push their relationship along a little quicker because she's going to feel bad for him in that sense. I mean, I don't know. Or maybe he goes to stay with Oliver, but
I don't think Oliver has time for people.
Yeah, he's kind of too busy right now. He's got a lot on his plate.
He's got to adjust to being a vigilante.
Yeah.
So.
But one of the big revelations of the episode, you know, it starts out that Oliver's supposed to have lunch with his mother, and he forgets about it, and, you know, Speedy calls to remind him. So he shows up at her work, and she's outside kind of having a confrontation with a man by the name of Paul Capone. Yeah. And, you know, he wants to do business with her, wants her to look over some proposals. She's declining, saying she's not, you know, not interested, and she's about to have lunch with her son. And Oliver's like at a stoplight or across the street, I think, parked waiting for her. He waves at her. And then we see another person on a motorcycle come up and, you know, open fire on what looks like his mother. Right. But the target was, you know, this Paul Capone guy who gets shot multiple times and killed. And we think it's, you know, looks like a man, but we see Oliver's vigilante kind of instincts kick in, and he takes off running, chasing, you know, this person on a bike
instead of looking after his mom.
Yes, and his mother is kind of like, she falls over. We don't know if she's hit or she's, you know, hurt, what happened, but he, you know, leaves her and takes off running, and he's so fast he literally almost catches up to this person on a motorcycle, right, which is insane.
Yeah. That was pretty insane.
Right. And then, you know, it comes back there at the hospital, and his excuse is, I was trying to get a license plate. Yeah, nobody believes that.
No one believes that.
And that's when we see kind of, you know, Speedy's concern, and she's getting frustrated about his lying because she obviously doesn't believe that.
But when does she not get frustrated about his lying?
Yeah, she's frustrated, yeah.
I feel like it's a broken record in every episode. I do like her character. But she is the kind of, like, you see her in a scene and I'm kind of like waiting for something pessimistic to pop out of her mouth.
Yeah. Well, we also see a nice bonding moment with her and her mom over that.
Yes.
Because she, you know, her mom is in the hospital. She has like a mild concussion and can go home if someone's with her. And of course, Oliver has to jet every 5 minutes.
All the time.
So he kind of, you know, passes the buck on to his sister. And they're watching TV, and she's talking to her mom about how frustrated she is. But, you know, her mom says, you know, being back in the hospital reminded me of when Oliver came home and the doctor told us, you know, he's not going to be the same Oliver that we know, so we should just kind of accept him for who he is.
Right.
And it just kind of made her, I think, take a second and think about it a little different.
Yeah. I think that it was a really good part on the mom's part, Moira's part, to say that, because hopefully it'll be a little head change for Thea, because her brother's doing good things. I know he seems odd, but he means well, and, you know, it's always the heroes that, you know, have to be the victim in a way, like Batman.
Right, that's right, you know.
They get the bad rap.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So, Myra's, you know, at home, in bed, and then we see the well-dressed man pop up at the house, and she freaks out. Who let you in here? And cause
I want to know who let her in.
Well, he's like, you know, Thea let me in. And, then it makes sense after we find out who this well-dressed man is. But he goes over to make sure that her head is still in the game, that she's still on track and is not, not going to change her mind because of her near-death experience.
And in case, we want to just recap you real quick in case you didn't see the previous episodes, but this well-dressed man also put a hit on Oliver.
Yes.
In the previous episode. I think
it was
two
episodes ago, maybe 4 or 5, that he thought he was the vigilante, so they got to get rid of him, and he's the one that ordered that hit, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So that was the man.
This man is one of the, key people in this whole plot that Oliver's trying to stop, I guess. And we find out that the well-dressed man is none other than Tommy's dad.
Which is very interesting.
It is. So now, we find out he's the bad guy, and then he cut off all of Tommy's money, kind of, kicked him to the curb, doesn't want to support him anymore. So I wonder what the reasoning behind that is. He says he's irresponsible.
Yeah, that's all he really says.
And is basically, lazy and is tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this guy is up to, but, he is clearly a very, very dangerous man, and I think that's going to develop as the season progresses. What's interesting, though, is the mom, too, is it might come to a point where Moira might be someone that her son has to be against.
Right. Well, because we find out, even I think it is the first episode, either the first or second episode, we find out she is one of the bad guys.
She's the one that actually well, from my understanding from episode 1, she is actually the person that wanted the ship to go down, or because she put the ship in like a, what's that called?
Yeah. No, building. She recovered it.
But in the last scene of episode 1, she's talking to somebody and she's like. She said something about like I did put the hit or something like that. And I'm sorry if it's all fuzzy, and I'll get back to you guys and leave a comment. But she's pretty bad herself.
Yeah, but I don't think she necessarily wants to hurt her son.
That's right.
And at this point, I don't believe that she believes he is the vigilante.
She doesn't want to believe it, of course.
Yeah, and I think, she was defending him from the beginning, even so much that she went when Mr. Merlin put out the hit on him and is like, hey, if you do this again, I will end you, basically.
See, so I think that she put it like she wanted her husband to die or something. But then
I'm going to have to go back and kind of
recap
that because I don't know. Or I got the impression that she saved that ship to find out what really happened.
Oh.
And maybe that was the thing, because she was hiding it, and I guess apparently according to the authorities they never found it, but she found it and kept it hidden, and to do her own research, I thought. But I'm gonna have to go back and double check it and kind of see, and go back to that and see what her intentions were.
Yeah, but Moira and Mr. Merlin are very dangerous people.
They are.
And, it's crazy because their sons are best friends.
Yes.
So I don't know how that's going to play out. And we were talking about it when we were watching that we think that Mr. Merlin is going to be one of Green Arrow's super nemesis.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are a lot of speculations about what Tommy's character is going to turn into, because there's the wizard and the other archer that come out. So they're thinking that it could possibly be him, that he's gonna turn on Oliver at some point in the series. So who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, who knows?
But we also get another new character tonight, which is Helena. How do we say it?
Yeah, Helena, aka the Huntress.
The Huntress. So this Peter Capone guy was part of the mob, family, the Bertinelli's crew. And Oliver goes undercover to kind of figure out, what if, Paul was the target, what's going on, because if they think it's another mob family, it could cause like a big mob war in the city. So he's going undercover, try to do business with this Bertinelli family and see what's going on. So he goes to Mr. Bertinelli's house to kind of talk business with him. And he wants, to do business with, he wants one of the contracts for, the Queen's Applied Sciences Division. He wants that contract. And I guess Moira doesn't want to give it to him. So that was kind of the thing there. And Oliver's telling him, well, I can probably get it for you, trying to kind of get on his good side. So he gets a mysterious call, goes away, sends the two, we find out that Helena is his daughter. And before Oliver does, us as viewers, we find out she's the one that was the shooter.
Right.
That he's looking for. And then she's Mr. Bertinelli's daughter. He sends them off to dinner together. And they're basically on a date.
They're basically on a date, and they are... There's quite a bit of sexual tension there, in my opinion.
And they're bonding.
They're bonding because they both have a past or a mystery behind them. She has a necklace, and she tells him that this necklace is from her fiance who died.
Mm-hmm.
And after their date, he leaves, and because he got a call from Diggle.
Mm-hmm.
And
can we talk about really quick how she called him the rich man's Lindsay Lohan?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
It was really ridiculous. I thought that was a bad line. That was
that was just like one of the silly lines there. I just thought that was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, the rich man's Lindsay Lohan. I guess we had to put a plug for her.
Poor Lindsay.
Yeah. So, bottom line is Green Arrow, a.k.a. Oliver Queen, goes back into the restaurant that he just ate, and they're...
Because he gets that call from Diggle, and Diggle is telling him that Bertinelli's henchman is running around, beating up everybody that owes money. And that the guy at that owns the restaurant that they're at, Mr. Russo, is next.
Yes.
And he's standing outside the restaurant and sees that the mob guys are there. So he gets into his costume and comes back just in time to save, Mr. Russo from getting, his fingers broken and his wife.
But he didn't really need to go there because we have the Huntress who comes in, and she's shooting at them. And then because Oliver has a vendetta on her because she shot at his mom, he starts attacking her, and then he elbows her helmet, and bam, her face is exposed. She takes off her helmet, and it's her.
And he sees that it's her, and it, freaks him out.
It freaks him out because he has developed a nice relationship with her in the couple hours that they have, and I think he had like a mini crush, and he's like, crap.
Yeah, he's like, what's going on? What am I going to do now? He really felt like he bonded with this person, that they had a lot in common. He felt like he could be himself with her, which is one thing that he said during dinner, that, it was really nice to, be with somebody that I can be myself with. And, he's back in his lair, and he's talking to Diggle, and, Diggle's telling him, hey, you need to clear your head. This is not a good thing for you. Basically, you need to chill out with whatever you think is going on there. Not a good idea.
Love is never a good thing for people who have another motive. It blocks them. It stops them.
But of course, Oliver's smarter than everybody else. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he's like, I got this. She has to have her reasons. I'm going to figure this out. And he goes back to her house. And, she kind of put two and two together and figures out that he is the vigilante.
Yes.
And, they're talking, going at it. She's basically accusing him of being just like her. And, he's saying that his is justice. He doesn't go for revenge. So basically, in his mind, he's not a killer, but she is.
She is a killer.
Yeah, she's basically a cold-blooded killer. And in his mind, he's not. He's doing justice. He's doing good. He doesn't see himself as a killer.
And there's that judgment thing again where she's like, well, why are you judging me? How are you to say that we're doing different things?
Right.
But, what's really important is that she gets caught by Nick.
Yeah, her dad's, right-hand man.
Yeah, she gets caught.
And we learn a lot about her backstory and how her fiance died. And the fact that her vendetta against her family now isn't the first...
No.
This isn't the first time she's been doing it. She was speaking to the FBI before.
Yeah, she basically doesn't want her father doing bad things, bad deeds, and she is trying to put a stop to it. So her and her fiance, she was about to get married, and she was talking to the FBI through her computer, and her dad's friend Nick, basically, and her dad as well, figured out that they were contacting the FBI with this computer who they thought belonged to her fiance Michael. And so they killed Michael, but then she said, no, it was me. And then she basically frees herself from being caught and
Yeah, because
breaks his neck.
you know, Nick comes and kidnaps her and
Mhm.
Oliver, and is basically going to kill her because he found her necklace at the restaurant after all of that whole fight went down. So he's ready to just kill her because he doesn't want to go to prison. He doesn't want her dad to go to prison. And of course, being the Huntress and the mass vigilante, they break free of their zip tie cuffs, and there's a big fight. But we see her viciousness.
Oh yeah, she breaks his neck.
She breaks
like
his
a chicken
neck.
head, like no business.
She's choking him and breaks his neck. And that's when I think it kind of hit Oliver that, whoa, wait a minute, this is not kind of the way I play this game.
Yeah.
This is not, I'm not a cold-blooded killer.
By the way, did you notice that she was wearing dark purple?
Yes.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, well, that's good, because that's ode to the original character.
Exactly.
Yes, which, they're trying to kind of keep some consistency there, which I think is really good.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah.
So all in all, she knows right away that it's him because she saw his face and all that stuff under the hood. I mean, I think if I saw him, I probably would have noticed as well. And so,
and plus his fighting style, when they were fighting each other,
And they end up just making out.
Well, first they cry.
Okay, they cry. They both cry.
They both realize that they're standing face to face with a person that understands their pain in a certain way that, because they're lonely. Being a superhero is lonely.
It is lonely.
So they're finding this middle ground, and it's very emotional, and they both get teary-eyed, and then they're making out.
Yes. So
and now they're partners in crime.
Now they're partners in crime. And by the way, in some versions, Elena is actually Batman and Catwoman's daughter. In some versions.
That's right. I saw that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that would have been cool, but no, she's in this version and other versions, she's a mafia's daughter. So let's move on to news and predictions. Do you have anything else? Let's move to it.
Yeah, we can talk about it in predictions.
News and predictions. Okay. So what you got?
So, fans will be happy to know that there was one episode added for the season. So now the season will consist of 23 episodes rather than just 22. So yay, we get to see a little bit more. And, we're going to see a lot more characters introduced.
Yes, we will.
We are going to also, the ratings for this show have been really great for the CW.
It's right now CW's #1 show.
Yeah, it premiered with, like, what? 7 million viewers or something crazy.
Yeah, 7 million, I think.
And then it's held up pretty consistently since then, which I don't think people thought it was going to do as well as it did, but I'm happy to know that
I'm really
it did.
happy it did too. It's like Smallville again.
Yes, and that show's been on forever. I'm surprised that that show was on so long, but it was great. I really liked it.
And I like the fact that they use the same mansion.
Yes, yeah. Well, one of the things too is like the cityscape for Starling City is actually a bunch of different ones. They were saying it's like Pennsylvania, it's also part of like Massachusetts and like some other cities.
Well, they're all beautiful.
They do. No, it looks fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely want to go there.
I do too. Also, we have the Arrow cast, David Anders. And David Anders is, if you don't know him, he plays Dr. Frankenstein in Once Upon a Time. So I'm so excited because I'm also a super fan of Once Upon a Time. And he is going to play Cyrus Vance. And apparently, he is going to be someone that Laurel has something against, or she's going to be out to get him.
Really?
Yes. And in case you guys don't know, Laurel is played by Katie Cassidy, who is David Cassidy's daughter, and
she's also dating Turtle from Entourage, Jerry Ferrara.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get some of these guys to call in or come in, but the show films in Vancouver, so I don't know, they're still filming right now, but hopefully we can get
I would
some
love
call-ins
that.
or some action some Arrow action going on.
Arrow action, yes. And let's get on to predictions. I'm sure you have some, as I do too.
Now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
So I think with Tommy now not having any money or whatever, I mean, the obvious place for him to go is to Oliver's mansion. I mean, he's got room there, and Oliver still has to kind of keep his public image alive a little bit. So I think that's going to kind of help with that. But it might cause some friction and be a little bit difficult for him to kind of sneak off as much as he does.
Yeah.
But I think that also might cause a little bit of tension between him and Thea, Tommy and Thea, maybe a little bit.
What kind of tension are you talking
I
about?
don't know. Maybe he'll realize that deep down, she's not just a little sister to him.
But you might have to wait till next season because she's still 17.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I think that his loss of money is the beginning of maybe losing more, and that's how he's going to transform into a possible supervillain.
Yes.
And also, as we know, I don't know if they say it in the show, but if you look on CW's website, Laurel's first name is Dina.
Yes.
So she is going to be, oh man, I'm brain farting. What was her name again? Black Canary. Excuse me.
Yes.
She is going to be Black Canary, and there are, if you Google it, all over the place, there are stories about how she's going to develop, and so they're already trying to develop her into Black Canary, and I'm interested to see how she becomes Black Canary, because Black Canary is a blonde, and she's badass, and she's hot, and and I don't see that in Laurel as of yet.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know. She's pretty badass. When the guys got beat up at the club,
true.
she kind of came in and rescued them. So
That
she's
is
got
true.
a little badassery inside of her,
She
too.
does.
So we'll see about that. And the whole thing with the Huntress and, Arrow, I wonder, exactly how that's going to kind of play out. I don't think that's going to be necessarily a match made in heaven. I think they're going to have a lot of friction there.
I think she's put in there not only because she's a comic book character, but also, and not only because she's badass, but also because she's also someone that's going to cause more friction between Laurel and Oliver.
Well, and also I think she's a little bit too violent for him, a little too...
Oh, she's creepy.
Yeah, she's a little too creepy, I think, and he's going to start to see more of that. And,
when she sits there and talks about how she wants to, stop her dad from doing bad, I'm like, you ain't much better
when she's
than that.
breaking people's necks with their bare hands, I don't know how that's going to go, but we'll find out. I guess we'll get closer and closer next week. So
and we are so excited to be doing this show now. I'm so glad it's up and running, and we will be back next week, same time, same place. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Kellie with an IE 079 on Twitter, and obviously follow AfterBuzz on Twitter as well. And make sure to go to iTunes and YouTube, check out our show, leave us comments, and rate and tell your friends. We really appreciate it.
And you can find me at KAORIOUS, and also on Sundays, Once Upon a Time AfterBuzz show with Marissa, and I also do the Afterblogs for Once Upon a Time as well. And what she said, please comment. And
yes, and then maybe we'll start our own after blog here about Arrow. So let's start
that'd be great,
guys.
All right, thank you guys.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.